Let's be honest, we all think we know Tyrannosaurus Rex. It is the king, right? The biggest, baddest predator to ever walk the earth. A total pop culture icon. But what if I told you the real animal is so much more incredible than any movie monster? Today, we are going to peel back those layers of myth and legend and meet the real T-Rex. I mean, you can hear it in your head right now, can't you? That earth-shaking roar. We've seen it on screen since way back in 1925 in the silent film The Lost World. We've seen it fight King Kong. It even inspired Godzilla. It has completely dominated our imagination, becoming the symbol of raw, prehistoric power. A creature we've been taught to both fear and, really admire. But here's the thing. A lot of what we just assume about T-Rex, it's just plain wrong. You know that whole idea from the movies that it can't see you if you stand perfectly still? Yeah, completely false. Turns out, T-Rex had excellent vision. So in this explainer, we're going to set the record straight and really get to know the true Tyrannosaurus. So where do we even start? Well, what better place than its name? Because the story of how the king of the dinosaurs got its famous title, it's actually the result of this wild scientific race with some pretty surprising twists and turns. Okay, so picture this. It's the late 1800s, and there's this fierce competition going on called the Bone Wars. A paleontologist named Cope finds some bone fragments way back in 1892 and calls them manispondylus. Fast forward to 1905, Henry Fairfield Osborn publishes a paper describing two huge carnivores. One he calls Tyrannosaurus Rex, and another Dinosaurus imperiosus. A year later, he figures out, whoops, these are the same animal. So which name sticks? Well, the rule is whichever name appeared first in the paper wins. And luckily for all of us, Tyrannosaurus Rex was printed just a few pages before Dinosaurus. As for good old Manispondylus, since nobody really used the name for over 50 years, it became invalid. The king narrowly avoided being called Dinosaurus. And hey, here's a quick pro tip for you. When you see the name abbreviated, it's not T-Rex with a hyphen. Nope. The proper scientific way to do it is to abbreviate the genus, Tyrannosaurus, with a capital T and a period. And the species name, Rex, is always lowercase. So it's T.Rex. It's a small detail, I know, but it's one of those things that shows you really know your stuff. All right, so we've got the name sorted. Now let's get into the good stuff, the anatomy of this absolutely incredible animal. And we've got to start with some of its most famous and, frankly, most misunderstood features. Ah, yes, the arms. They have been the butt of endless jokes, right? We've all seen the memes. The T-Rex trying to make a bed or put on a sweater. They look so short, so stubby. Just these seemingly useless little things on an otherwise terrifying predator. But, as you might have guessed, science tells a very, very different story. Those arms were anything but weak. Seriously, a study a while back found that the bicep of a T-Rex was about 3 times stronger than that of a grown human. So while they were small in proportion to its massive body, they were ridiculously powerful. They were packed with muscle and were almost certainly used to grab and hold on to struggling prey while that monstrous jaw did its work. And speaking of that jaw, just forget everything you think you know about T-Rex teeth being like steak knives. The best analogy, believe it or not, is a banana. Yeah, a banana. T-Rex teeth were thick, they were conical, and they were rooted super deep in the skull. These things were not for slicing. They were for pulverizing. We're talking about a bite force of nearly 6 tons from a single back tooth. This was a bone crusher. And we have proof. In its fossilized poop, we've found coprolites that are up to 50% crushed bone fragments. Incredible. Now get ready for a big science word here. T-Rex had a special adaptation in its feet called the archetometatarsian condition. Basically, the middle bone in its foot was pinched at the top by the 2 bones on either side. What this did was act like a natural shock absorber, and it made its stride incredibly efficient. This tells us something huge. T-Rex wasn't just a sprinter, it was a marathoner. It was built to cover huge distances without wasting energy. It's a trait that actually links it more closely to birds than to other big predators like Allosaurus. Okay, so we've established we have this powerful, incredibly efficient creature. But how did it actually live? How did it hunt? This question was actually at the center of one of the biggest debates in all of paleontology for years. For a really long time, some scientists argued that T-Rex was just too big, maybe too slow to be a good hunter. They proposed it was just a giant scavenger, that it would just lumber around, using its size to bully other predators off their kills. It's a pretty compelling image, right? But then, a discovery was made that changed absolutely everything. So, in 2013, paleontologists found the tailbone of a hadrosaur, a duck-billed dinosaur. And what did they find stuck right in it? A T-Rex tooth. But here is the absolute clincher, the smoking gun. The hadrosaur's bone had healed around the tooth. For bone to heal, the animal has to be alive. This wasn't a T-Rex munching on a dead body. This was a failed hunt. The hadrosaur was attacked, it got away, and it lived long enough for its wound to heal. And there you have it. Just like that, the debate was pretty much settled. Tyrannosaurus Rex was an active hunter. Now, of course, just like any big predator today, think a lion or a bear, it was also an opportunist. It's not going to pass up a free meal if it stumbles on a carcass. But make no mistake about it, this animal was a killer. What's maybe even more fascinating is how T-Rex changed as it grew up. For years, scientists thought there was this separate, smaller species called Nanotyrannus, a dwarf tyrant. Well, we now know those fossils were just juvenile T-Rex, and they were like completely different animals. Young T-Rex were lean, they had long legs, they were super fast, and they had these blade-like teeth for hunting smaller animals. But once they hit their late teens, they went through this insane growth spurt, bulking up into the massive bone-crushing adults we all know. It's a brilliant evolutionary strategy. It means the kids weren't competing with their parents for food. So now that we've busted some myths about its name, its arms, and its lifestyle, let's put all of these pieces together. Let's try and build a complete picture of this finely tuned ultimate predator. Forget that image of a clumsy, lumbering brute. CT scans of T-Rex skulls show us it was a sophisticated sensory machine. Its eyes faced forward, giving it binocular vision, just like us, and fantastic depth perception for judging distance. Its brain had these enormous olfactory lobes, which means its sense of smell was probably off the charts good. And its hearing was tuned to low-frequency sounds, which is perfect for detecting the heavy footsteps of a triceratops from far, far away. Okay, and now we get to it. The question on everyone's mind, the one that starts all the arguments online. What did this thing actually look like? Did T-Rex have feathers? The answer is, well, it's complicated. And that's what makes science so cool. We know for a fact that some of its earlier, smaller relatives were covered head to toe in feathers. But the few patches of skin impressions we actually have from adult T-Rex show scales. So the best guess right now is that the adults were probably mostly scaly. But, and this is a big but, we don't have skin impressions from its entire body. So some scientists think it might have kept a little bit of feathering, maybe along its back or head, possibly for display. The jury is still a little bit out. Tyrannosaurus Rex wasn't just a movie monster. It was a real, living, breathing animal, an evolutionary masterpiece that we are still just getting to know. And maybe the most mind-blowing discovery of all came in 2005, when Dr. Mary Schweitzer found preserved, flexible blood vessels and other soft tissues deep inside a T-Rex femur. Now, this doesn't mean we're cloning one tomorrow, but it means these animals aren't just rocks. They still have secrets to tell us, proving that the real king of the dinosaurs is infinitely more amazing than any myth.